This is the Adventure Bible for Toddlers. It's produced by zonderkids.com. The adventure begins. Genesis chapter 1. Once there was just a big black space. Then God created light. It lit up the darkness, and He made bubbling water and land bursting with plants and trees. God whirled the sun and moon into space. He put stars in the sky. In the sea, God made fish and all kinds of creatures. In the sky, He made birds and butterflies. What fun God had, making animals of every kind. Then God made Adam and Eve, the very first man and woman. After that, He rested. God's world was ready for an adventure. Noah's Ark, Genesis chapter 6 through 9. Noah was on a big boat with his family and lots of animals. It was noisy. So many squawks, oinks, woofs, moos, baas, and roars. It had been raining for a long time. Outside, there was nothing but water. Noah couldn't wait to walk on land and see horses gallop across the fields, monkeys leap from tree to tree, and turtles crawl through the grass. Still, Noah was grateful. "Thank you, God," he said, "for keeping us safe from the storm outside." Noah knew when God was ready, the rain would stop and a new adventure would begin. Moses' many adventures. The book of Exodus. The princess heard a baby crying. She saw a basket bobbing in the river. Inside was a baby boy. The princess gently picked him up. "I'll take care of you and raise you as my son," she told him. "Your name will be Moses." When Moses grew up, God asked him to be a leader. God's people were slaves, and He wanted them to be free. Moses led them through the desert and the Red Sea. Then Moses climbed to the top of a mountain. God told Moses how He wanted His people to live and wrote His rules on 2 stone tablets. Moses' life was full of adventure. Boy versus giant, 1 Samuel chapter 17. A boy named David and a giant named Goliath faced each other, ready for battle. Everyone watched. The boy was no match for the giant. David was very brave. "I come before you in the name of the Lord. He will help me fight you," shouted David. The boy pulled a stone from his bag and loaded his slingshot. He let the stone go flying into the air. The stone hit the giant on the forehead. He tumbled to the ground. David's army cheered. The battle was over. All because this boy trusted God. Drooling lions. Daniel chapter 6. The lions were all around Daniel. They were getting closer and closer. The king had put Daniel into the lion's den because Daniel loved God. Daniel fell to his knees to pray. "Lord, I know you are with me. I trust you." When Daniel opened his eyes, he saw an angel. Daniel knew he was safe. "The Lord has saved me from the lions," he shouted. The king let Daniel go. Now the king knew that Daniel prayed to the one true God. Fish food. Jonah chapter 1 through 4. God told Jonah to go to a city called Nineveh and help the people do what was right. Instead, Jonah got on a ship and went the other way. There was a storm. Jonah was thrown into the water. A huge fish opened his mouth and swallowed him up. Now Jonah was in the fish's belly. Jonah prayed to God for 3 days. He told God he was sorry for disobeying him. Suddenly, the fish coughed Jonah out right onto solid ground. Jonah got up and wiped himself off. God told Jonah to go to Nineveh again. This time, Jonah obeyed. Jesus is born. Luke chapter 2, verses 1 through 7. Mary rode a donkey into Bethlehem. Very soon she would have a baby, and she needed a place to stay, but all the inns were full. Finally, a man said, "You can stay in my stable. It's warm and it's dry." In the stable, Mary lay down on the bed of straw. There, baby Jesus was born.
"Hello, Jesus," Mary whispered. "You are God's son."
Jesus is baptized. Matthew chapter 19, verses 13 to 17.
John stood in the middle of the river. He was baptizing people. When he looked up, he saw his cousin, Jesus. John shook his head. "I need to be baptized by you, Jesus. Why do you come to me?" "It is right for us to do this," Jesus replied. John baptized Jesus, just like the others. As soon as Jesus came out of the water, the skies opened up. A dove appeared over his head. A voice from heaven said, "This is my son, and I love him. I am very happy with him." Jesus and the children. Matthew chapter 19, verses 13 through 15. A group of children were playing while Jesus rested nearby. Oh, how Jesus loved children. Their mothers called to them, Come, let's talk to Jesus." But Jesus' helpers said, "Don't bother Jesus, he's too busy." "Let the children come to me," Jesus told his helpers. "Don't keep them away." The children ran to Jesus, laughing and giggling. Jesus lifted them onto his lap and gave them hugs. The adventure continues. The Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Jesus had many adventures. Once he was out on a boat with his helpers in a bad storm. He told the storm to stop, and it did. He made many sick people well. Some people couldn't walk. He helped them to walk. Some people were blind. He helped them to see. Many people loved to listen to Jesus. He told wonderful stories. He taught them all about God's love. The adventure wasn't over when Jesus went to heaven. The most important thing has yet to happen. Jesus is coming back. Catherine DeVries is a writer and editor with a passion for communicating biblical truths to children. She is the author of many books, including the Adventure Bible Storybook and My Time with God. Catherine lives with her husband and 3 children in Colorado. Jim Madsen has been the illustrator of this one. ZonderKids.com.